Today I will be discussing the movie Desert Flower. The film portrays the life of a young Somali girl named Waris, who fled from her family at the age of 13. She became a world-renowned supermodel and fought against the brutal practice of female circumcision. Her name, Waris, means desert flower, and she was born into a nomadic family in Somalia, where people still live without the amenities of modern civilization. They herd goats, ride camels, cook over an open fire, and sleep in tents. The story jumps ahead several years, when Waris is now an adult and living in the bustling city of London. One day, while shopping, a saleswoman accuses her of theft, and Waris flees. They later cross paths in the bathroom, and Waris reveals that she has been living in London for 6 years, but has not yet learned English. Despite not wanting to return to Somalia, she finds herself alone in the Western world with nowhere to go. Waris spends the night on the streets, scavenging for food in garbage cans. Once on the bus, she meets Marilyn, the saleswoman who accused her of stealing. Marilyn dreams of becoming a dancer, but has not had any luck getting cast. She takes Waris into her boarding house and advises her to find a job, which leads Waris to become a cleaner at a fast food restaurant. One day, a famous photographer notices her and gives her his phone number, but Waris does not respond. A few weeks have passed, and Waris is still living in a boarding house and working as a cleaner, while also actively learning English. One day, she and her friends go to a disco, where she meets a man named Harold who is attracted to her and asks her to dance. However, Waris is scared by his touch and runs away. Later, when she returns home, she finds her friend Marilyn spending time with a man, which shocks Waris as it goes against her traditional African beliefs. Waris believes that a circumcised woman is the right kind of woman, but Marilyn fails to understand her. Waris then lifts her dress to show Marilyn what was done to her when she was 3 years old. This practice is an ancient tradition in Somalia where little girls have everything removed and then sewn together so that their husband can open it on their wedding night. Waris had believed that all women in the world went through the same thing until Marilyn told her otherwise. While at work in a cafe, Waris meets the photographer who had given her his phone number before. Marilyn advises her to participate in the photo shoot, as it would be a good opportunity to earn money. She also gives Waris a note from Harold, which contains his address in New York. Suddenly, Waris falls ill and experiences severe pain. Her friend helps her to get to the hospital, where a gynecologist examines her and states that her condition cannot be reversed, but they can help her not to feel the pain. However, the doctor realizes that Waris does not understand English very well and asks for a Somali nurse named Amal, who then comes to help. The gynecologist instructs Amal to tell Waris that she urgently needs an operation since she was sewn by an unskilled person. However, Amal tells Waris something entirely different. He shames her for showing herself to a white man and states that an operation would be a betrayal of their people and their culture, as he believes that no one should interfere in their traditions. Waris is left in tears after hearing his words. Actions are transported back to a few years ago, when Waris was a 13-year-old girl living with her family in the old desert. When she began her critical days, her father introduced her to her future husband, who paid 5 camels for her. The following day, she was to become the 4th wife of a terrible old man. However, the girl was not willing to accept such a fate, and with her mother's tacit consent, she fled to her grandmother in Mogadishu. For several days, Waris wandered through the desert barefoot, which resulted in her feet becoming bloody. Miraculously, she managed to arrive at her distant relatives unharmed. Fast forward many years later, Waris underwent surgery to correct what was done to her in the past. Then, she went to the photographer who had left her a phone number in a diner. Being resolute, the girl immediately inquired about modeling. She had her makeup done and participated in her first photo shoot. Gradually, Waris became a successful and sought-after model, receiving job offers from all over the world. During this time, her friend Marilyn failed another casting dance project, and Barry gave her an expensive watch, asking Waris to teach her how to walk in heels. However, the ideal scenario came crashing down when a modeling agent informed Waris that she had been fired due to an expired passport, and as an illegal immigrant, she had to be deported back to Somalia. A boarding house worker suggested a fictitious marriage to enable Waris to stay in England, but the agency managed to obtain fake documents for her. Nevertheless, she was still detained by the police at the airport while trying to work in the U.S. Actions were taken back to many years ago, when Waris was a 13-year-old girl. Her grandmother believed that Waris should go to the United Kingdom because her mother's sister is the wife of the Somali ambassador in London, and she needs a housekeeper. Grandmother believed that the girl would be safe in Europe and advised her not to return. Waris boarded the plane and said goodbye to her native country. In London, the girl worked at the Somali embassy, doing the dirtiest work such as washing, cleaning, and washing dishes. A few years later, a coup took place in Somalia, and the state called on its citizens to return. All the embassy employees went home, but Waris stayed because no one was waiting for her in Somalia, and her family would never forgive her for escaping. The action moves forward several years, and Waris is released from custody as bail was posted for her. The girl is given a limited residence permit, but she violated it and will be deported. Waris urgently needs a work permit, so she decides to accept the offer and enter into a fake marriage. She settles in the same apartment with her newly made husband so that the migration service does not suspect anything. The girl returns to work as a model. One day during a session, the photographer asks her to undress, and Waris is embarrassed, standing completely naked in front of the camera. Her life is getting better, but her relationship with her fictitious husband is nowhere worse. The man confesses his love to her and tries in every possible way to achieve intimacy. The girl is in despair and is even thinking of returning to her homeland. Fortunately, she will soon be given an indefinite residence permit, and she is now free from the marriage ties. While filming in New York, Waris remembers a note from Harold, the guy from the nightclub. She visits him but discovers he already has a girlfriend, so she runs away in tears. Waris became a world-famous top model, and a film was even made about her on the BBC. During an interview, she was asked to talk about the day that changed her life. However, Waris recalls a memory from when she was 3 years old, when her mother took her to the desert where a local witch doctor circumcised her using an ordinary razor in unsanitary conditions. Despite her heartbreaking cries, everything was cut off from the girl and hastily sewn up, leaving a hole the size of a match head. As a child, Waris miraculously survived, but she experienced hellish pain for the rest of her life. This terrible story moved the journalist to tears, and many publications wrote about the Somali girl. Harold read the article and sought a meeting with her. Waris went to a UN meeting where she spoke about the barbaric circumcision procedure that mutilates women in Africa and other countries, and her speech led to the official ban of female circumcision in many states. However, the terrible ancient traditions continue to exist today. This is where the movie ends. Thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this. Like the video and comment about your thoughts on the story. See you in the next video.